Welcome to my world as we dive into the realm of finance and everything it encompasses. I'm your host, Dita Musungai, a financial analyst, and I've witnessed firsthand the transformative power of financial literacy. We're going to be embarking on a journey to uncover what the finance world is truly about and how these skills and knowledge can empower you to achieve financial success. Join me as we explore budgeting, investing, and navigating financial landscape with confidence and clarity. Together, we'll build a foundation of financial understanding that will serve you throughout your life. Hi, guys. Welcome to the very first episode of Freshman in Finance. A lot of the jargon we hear on mainstream services will always talk about investing, having your 401k, or saving and having stock options, but no one really tells you the basis of where all this knowledge comes from. There are 6 fundamentals we're going to be exploring throughout this podcast. We're going to be going through budgeting, investing, forecasting, saving, lending, and borrowing. These are the principles in which most of the financial industry is based upon. And if you understand these, it's probably going to make it so much easier for us to get into it. The 50-30-20 rule recommends that you put 50% of your money towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards saving. What happens if your needs consume literally more than 50% of what you earn? How do you navigate that? There are multiple types of budgets that you could create. I found 7 steps to make your budget easier. First step is to set some realistic goals. It is so unrealistic to think that you can afford to buy a car on your first salary because the car is super expensive to maintain. So if I was you, I would definitely try save up before you make any rash purchases. The second step would be to identify what constitutes your income and what your expenses actually are. Sometimes you get money from side hustles or part-time income. Is that all that you're counting as your income, and how consistent is that for you? So you've got to be super mindful of what you consider to be income as well as your expenses. Expenses are usually the easiest ones to track, but the ones that definitely affect us the most. A lot of the time we end up spending and overspending because we don't stick to our budgets. Sometimes the budget doesn't allow for fun time, and I'm definitely going through a period where I have to cut out some fun time just so that I can have more flexibility in my saving ability and not going out to restaurants. And that's something I definitely enjoy doing. So a little bit of sacrifice here and there just so that your expenses are kept down can help in terms of building that 20% saving goal. The third step would be to separate your needs and your wants. A lot of the time, social media has these pressures to spend on specific things because, oh my gosh, you need this, and have you believing that these are things you need, but they're actually not things that you need on a day-to-day basis. It's going to contribute to your well-being. It's nice to have, but it's not a need. Your wants are obviously things that impact your lifestyle. Be mindful of what it is you think you need versus what it is you actually want. Step 4 would be to design your budget. Designing a budget can be strenuous. I spend a core chunk of my time deciding how my budget should look, because the better it looks, the more color coordinated it is, the more likely I am to open it. And I think that's just the way my brain works. But most times, if something is pulling at you just by look and feel, you're more likely to interact with it more and more. The more you look at it, the more helpful it becomes. So I'm now in a routine where as soon as I get my income, I go to my budget and I pay all my needs, and I sort that out first. That's the first thing I pay, so that throughout the rest of the month, I don't have to worry about, my debit orders bouncing or, that kind of thing. In terms of designing your budget, you got to put some time and thought into how your budget is going to look. You want to make it simple and easy to use, but also super customizable because every month has a different budget and every year is different. So you've got to have room for flexibility when designing your budget. Step 5 would be putting your plan into action. I am a serial planner. Definitely, I love to plan. I'm always worried about what I'm going to do tomorrow, what's happening next, all in the spirit of planning. But when it comes to putting it into action, it's like, girl, you're all talk, no action. It's super embarrassing. And I'm trying to do better. It takes some getting used to because you have to put like these boundaries in place to help you stick to your budget. Step 6 would be to have room for seasonal expenses. Holidays, birthdays always expect you to have an extra amount of cash flow just so that you can buy presents or go on a trip. If you budget way in advance, you would have had so much time to plan so that you can make your life so much easier in the long run. And I feel like a lot of the times people make plans, right? So I'm one of those people, like I definitely make a plan for a budget for a year and then boom, a tire pops and I got to sort that out. You got to have room for emergency savings and expenses, but how do you build that? You got to have a plan, you got to stick to it. You've got to be super disciplined. Sometimes getting an accountability buddy is super, super helpful. I know a lot of people find finances to be the most intimate thing, like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to talk about this. Like, I don't want someone to know how much I'm earning. And that's perfectly okay. You don't want your life to be on blast, but having at least one person check you so that you making sure your debit orders are sorted, your payments are always made on time, and you're like not, flunking on rent or anything like that. It's super helpful. I think that you guys would definitely benefit. It's definitely a hard thing to implement this 50-30-20 rule because you've got to make sure that you have enough for 50 to only be your needs. Step 7 is to look ahead. You've got to be planning with long term in mind. And as much as YOLO exists, you live for today, spend it all now. Society will tell you when to spend, how to spend it, and they will gladly accept your credit card details, but you've got to be so strategic about how you go about spending your money. I hope this helped you guys just get a better understanding of what budgeting is and how to start implementing it in your life. If you use this popular method, 50-30-20 rule, let me know. Take these steps, write them down in your little journal, in your money book, in your freshman in finance little diary, and let's be interactive, ask questions, and if you guys have anything you want to talk about, what happens if your needs are more than the 50? Do you now have to go look for another job, or do you just cut down on your living costs? Leave us a message on Instagram. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channels. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.